After the successful raid on the Imperial facility, there was little time to rest for the clones. The data retrieved by Jax held terrifying information about a counterplan made by Thrawn. According to the data, he had multiple heavy walkers and artillery from different areas merged together to form a powerful force at a central point. The time to strike was now, before his counterforce grew too strong. Greef volunteered to go as well, in response to the previously failed attack. Beside him was an army with only one purpose: destruction. And the same fate awaited Naboo as its fields and cities were burning a second time. The Separatist units had set up heavy anti-armor turrets that immediately crippled the first ATSTs crossing the river. But in the distant fog, more of them appeared, as the troops were overshadowed by two colossal AT-ATs. The tall grass provided cover for the infantry, but the ATSTs were sitting ducks. But the Empire had plenty to spare, and had no doubt to win even if it meant losing a lot of walkers. The armored behemoth came into range and started unleashing its firepower on the droids. They did not possess the weaponry to penetrate the AT-AT's shields. At a slow but sure pace, the attackers drew near. The droids lost infantry rapidly, and the armor stationed in the field was weak as the stronger ones were positioned in and around the city borders. The smoke and wrecks provided more cover for the stormtroopers as they kept the same speed as the AT-AT. The droids held up in the statues were difficult to hit, but the same could be said for the Imperials disappearing in the vegetation. The super battle droids were sent out into the field, hoping to clear some infantry with their rockets. More armor was rolling in besides the walkers as another AT-ST was shattered. But nevertheless, the Imperial units managed to get close enough to where their blaster fire achieved deadly accuracy. The droids lost several turrets, infantry, and their super battle droids were also no match for the overwhelming firepower. The Imperials sped up their attack. The droids no longer had the strength to crush their walkers. The turrets that were still active desperately tried to take out any units they could. But the Empire sent in every unit as the ground shook under the heavy footsteps of the walkers. The droids had lost, and all that remained was clearing the field of any stragglers. Victory was for the Empire, but dominance had not yet been established. Many cities, including the capital Thee, were under assault as well. Skirmishes broke out all over the place, from narrow alleyways and bridges to monumental grounds and rural areas. The narrow streets meant that the Empire could not get the same overwhelming effect as their armies fighting on the field, but they still were a force to be reckoned with. Thee's Royal Lane was an important battleground, as it gave way to the Royal Palace and the Separatist headquarters. It was wide enough to allow a single AT-AT to lead on an attack force. The smaller AT-STs once again found themselves under heavy fire by the droids' armor. The improvised cover was no match for the enemy's blasters. The open street provided no cover for the stormtroopers, as many were killed at the front by the opposing droids. A daring AT-ST tried to probe forward, only to be destroyed in the process. The wreck provided a bit more cover, giving the stormtroopers an opportunity to advance on the sides. Another ATST approached, this time with better results. Small spider droids aided the Separatist infantry in trying to halt the Imperial advance. With the ATST being able to clear a large section of the droid's defense, the Imperial troops shifted as they were covered by another walker. The streets were covered in droid parts and blackened by blaster impacts. The feared droidekas paled in comparison to the might of the Imperial units. Their armor was the only remaining means of defense, as those that were still active managed to take out just a few more ATSTs. But the infantry had spread throughout the streets and alleyways like a plague, and had surrounded the droids. The slow pace of the AT-AT did not stall the attack, as the droids were stripped of their tanks and artillery. The stormtroopers took care of the final droids remaining in order to prepare for the final assault on the royal palace. In front of the palace, the strongest units were assembled, lying in wait for the Imperials to march through. The battle for Naboo was lost, that much was certain. But those who were still able to fight would make sure that the enemy would pay dearly for their victory.